Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Hank. I am an employee relations partner here in our Career and Professional Development Office at WGU. We have an exciting session planned for you today with our esteemed guest, Shauna Olshan. She is the Emerging Talent Leader from Cisco. And with that, no further ado, I'll pass it on to you, Shauna.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Hank, for reaching out and extending this opportunity to speak to alumni and students at WGU. I am Shauna Olshan, and as Hank mentioned, I am an emerging talent leader at Cisco. So for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about me and some background information about my journey. I'm also going to discuss how WGU helped me in my journey. And we're also going to talk a little bit about various roles that you might be interested in Cisco and how you would apply for those roles. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for questions. So you can wait to the end, come off mute and ask questions, or you can put them in the chat and Hank will help me go through those questions at the end. All right, so we'll go ahead and we will get started. So a little bit about me. My full name is Shauna Olayiwola Oloshoun, and you see all those markings on there. Those are the actual markings for my name in Yoruba. That is the language that my last name is from. I always like to show that as a nice fun icebreaker, and it's very eye-catching. It looks pretty cool, but those markings are markings in that language to help an individual who can read that language pronounce words the correct way, because it is a tonal language. But about my career, I have over 15 years of experience in the IT profession, and it has gone by really fast. Whenever I say that it's been more than 15 years, I don't even believe myself. It's just gone by so quickly, but it has been a wonderful profession to be in. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I've learned a lot. I've got a lot of experience, met a lot of great people, and just learned so much along the way. All right, my current role, I am an emerging talent leader at Cisco, and in that role, I actually serve as a program manager for the Technical Consulting Engineer Graduate Program at Cisco. And that program is for recent graduates who come into Cisco through my program. And the whole program is geared towards emerging talent. We know that emerging talent may not have as much experience, so the whole program is centered around some technical development, professional development, soft skills, and just organically helping you digest what it is like to work for a global corporation. So I really enjoy that work. It is much different from some of my other roles that I've had in the past. We'll go through that shortly, but I really enjoy it because it feels like daily outreach. It feels like I'm always giving back because I'm helping people who are just coming into their careers in tech, and it's just really rewarding to be a part of that group. And a little bit about my education. I have an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree from WGU. I've been fortunate to have opportunities to continue my education and my professional development. And we'll also talk a little bit about Cisco and how WGU helped my career at Cisco. And then along the way, I have earned some certifications along the way. My active certifications are the PMI Associate Project Manager certification, and then I also have the Cisco Certified Cyber Ops certification. One of those certifications, depending on if you're in a program at WGU, you'll have an opportunity to get that certification as well. But certifications have also been a big part of my journey, and you'll see a little bit about that on the next slide as well. And then just a little bit about things that I love. So I love to learn new things. There's always something new to learn, and it doesn't have to always be technical, but I really just learned that. I really love to learn, getting introduced to new things. I also love to volunteer. Cisco gives me some time off to volunteer. So sometimes my team gets together and we go out into the community and we volunteer. And I really love traveling. I like going to new places. I like visiting new countries, seeing new things, going on nature walks in different locations. So I just really enjoy traveling. I don't mind getting on a plane. I don't mind getting on a cruise boat. I just really like to see new things, have new experiences, and see what else is out there in the world. All right, so now we're going to dive a bit into my journey, and I decided to start my journey in 2008 for this slide. I do have a little bit of experience before 2008, but I got my first corporate role in 2008, so that's where I decided to start. My first corporate role was in technical support with AT&T. I did support for their internet service, so customers would call in and need assistance with setting that up, setting up their Wi-Fi, or getting it connected for the first time, or maybe it's not working at all, whatever it may be. That was my first role in a corporation. By that point, I had my associate's degree in networking at that point, so I did have a little bit of experience before going into that role. It was a great role. I got to talk to people all over the United States and just help a variety of people with their internet. And then in 2013, I began working at East Carolina University, and I was a student at East Carolina University. I wanted to go there and finish and get a bachelor's degree, and I also worked there. In that role at East Carolina University, I was a computer technician, so people would bring in their laptops or their desktops, and they would need viruses removed, or maybe they need certain software installed for a class, or maybe one of my favorite things, maybe they had a Mac, but they were in a program that required a lot of Windows heavy programs that didn't work well on Mac. So then we would boot camp the device. If anybody knows what that's for, we would dual boot it. So it would be, we turned that Mac into a Mac that had a partition for Windows and then another partition for the Mac OS, and you could just dual boot that. So that was a really fun job. Also met a lot of great people. Yes, I have lots of customer service stories. We could talk about that for hours. And I also saw someone that went to ECU, so go Pirates as well. And then in 2014, I got my first industry certification. So the program that I was in at East Carolina University required that you get a certification. So I got my CCNA in 2014. It was a huge undertaking for me, even though I had prior experience in networking and IT and an associate's degree in networking. I did not get my CCNA on the first time. So that does happen. If you're out there working on your certifications, you may not get it on the first time, and that's okay. Keep going. For CCNA and any other exam, I would say definitely make sure that you tailor your studying to the exam topics so that you're studying the right material so you'll be properly prepared for those exams. Then in 2015, I graduated from East Carolina University and I started again on the job hunt. I really wanted to work for Cisco at that point, so I really focused the majority of my job search on Cisco. And in 2016, I landed a contract role at Cisco. So I was not a full direct hire at Cisco at that time, but it was still a great opportunity. I worked at Cisco, I just wasn't directly employed by Cisco. I was a NOC engineer, so I worked 4 10-hour shifts. If anybody has ever worked a NOC life or even in a SOC, you know what that's all about. I worked 10-hour shifts 4 times a week, had 3 days off every week. It was great. I learned a lot in that role as well. Device alarms, so that would be devices unreachable or interfaces flapping on interfaces. So that was a really interesting role. And then in 2018, I was able to gain a direct full-time, what we call blue badge role at Cisco. I was so excited. I finally got to a good point in my career. I had a role at Cisco. I was a direct hire. I had a blue badge, like my badge now. It's my first badge had a red square around my picture, and now I have a blue badge around my picture. It was a really big deal for me. And then as soon as I became a full-time, yes, big dog status, definitely. I love that comment, Justin. So one of the first things I did when I became a direct full-time hire at Cisco, I started scrolling through the benefits. I was like, what can I get access to? So we had access, at that time, we had access to CBT Nuggets, O'Reilly books, and then we had tuition reimbursement. So in one of my first meetings with my manager, I said, how do I get a degree paid for by Cisco? Like, I want to go for my master's degree. So my manager talked to me about it, explained the process. I applied for tuition reimbursement, and then I enrolled in WGU in the Masters of IT Management program. I was so excited to be able to get that degree, start in the program. WGU fit into my lifestyle at the time. I was working full time. I had just moved to Morrisville, North Carolina, where the office is, the Raleigh-Durham RTP area. So I was in a new place. I was in a new job, and I needed that flexibility that WGU offers. I needed that competency-based experience because I had experience in the tech industry, and I really needed that flexibility, and WGU provided all of that for me. Bradley, we'll have to meet up since you live in this area. Raleigh, right around the corner from me. No, we should definitely meet up someday. And so I enrolled in that program. I had a great time. And then in 2019, I began getting certifications again. If you notice, I got my CCNA in 2014. 3 years from that would be 2017. I did not renew my CCNA, but I did try for the cyber ops and got that. The PMI certification that I got was part of the requirements of my WGU program. So I was really fortunate enough to get that one on the first try. And then also in 2019, things began to change a little bit for me in my career. And I was placed on the management track in my role. By that point, I was a team lead. The next step would be a management or a leadership role. And my manager and my leadership, they saw my dedication. They saw that I was willing to put in the time and the effort. They knew that I went straight into the program at WGU, and they just kind of supported me on that. And I was on the management track, so I was someone who would be considered for a leadership role once I met all those requirements. And then as fate would have it, 2020 rolled around, and it was our COVID year. A lot happened. WGU was actually very, very understanding of what was happening in the pandemic. And I believe, Hank, I don't know if you were there at that time, but I believe we all got an extension on our term in 2020. It was just a really rough time for everybody. But I did graduate in July of 2020, and then in September of 2020, I was promoted to a leadership role, and it just really all tied in. My time and effort at WGU was really pivotal in me securing that leadership role. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then in 2022, I moved on to the emerging talent team, the team that I'm on now, where we focus on developing emerging talent, people who are in the early career stage. My team supports co-ops, interns, and new graduates. So there's a lot of opportunities, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a later slide. And then 2024, here we are today. I'm talking to you all. I'm super optimistic about things. I just can't believe that all this time has gone by, and I can look back over all these accomplishments, and it's just really amazing. And if you keep on track, no matter what kind of setbacks you have, you'll make it. It's just all about staying the course and just keeping your eye on the prize. You have a goal, you have something in mind, just make sure that you stay on track with that, and with the ups and downs, just keep going. All right. There are some opportunities at Cisco for people who do not have degrees. So we do have an apprenticeship program. I don't have a lot of information on that, but my coworker actually runs that program. So there are apprenticeship opportunities at Cisco for people who don't have their degrees yet. So that was a great question. So on this slide, I want to talk just a bit about how WGU helped me directly. So through the program, I was able to develop my leadership skills. There were some courses in the program that were heavy on management and leadership and what that mindset looks like and how you prepare yourself for a leadership role. So that really helped me. I had a lot of advanced knowledge. I remember doing a lot of research for my capstone project, and some of the things that I researched, I actually ended up using in my role. I was on the Umbrella support team, and I did my project on deploying Umbrella at a school. So it was really great knowledge that I learned in there. And then also it helps you with your professional credibility and personal growth. I felt like I grew a lot. There were a lot of times where I didn't know how much I could do, and being in the program, being in WGU just really helped me see my own growth, and I grew a lot while I was there. And then of course it set me apart from other candidates. There were other people interested in roles, but not everybody had a degree in IT management. Not everybody put in the time and effort to get the degree while they're working at Cisco, so it really helped set me apart. So it was a really just great opportunity for me. But I want to give you something. So we're going to talk a little bit about the roles for college students and graduates at Cisco. So we have two types of roles here. I decided to break it into technical roles and also talk a little bit about non-technical roles. And when I say technical role, what I mean is that these are roles where you have to have some technical skills, such as coding. Maybe you also know how to configure routers and switches. Maybe you know how to implement certain IT solutions. So those are the kinds of tasks that technical roles have. And non-technical roles usually focus on business or customer relationships, or something that you're not actually physically configuring a device or configuring a platform or coding something. Those would be the non-technical roles. And then I listed a few roles here. They are not all the possibilities, but there's just the ones that I wanted to highlight. And then I also just want to put a disclaimer out there. I'm not in HR, I'm not in recruiting, and I'm just speaking from my experience and my know-how and what I've learned over the years at Cisco. So this is not official Cisco communication, but it is something that I wanted to share with you. So some of the technical roles would be technical consulting engineer. Those roles are roles that typically are assisting customers with technical problems. So you think about our TAC center, you think about a customer buying a product or service and setting it up and getting an error code or not knowing how to set it up. Our technical consulting engineers will help them troubleshoot through that. Consulting engineers are typically, in my experience, they are more proactive support. So they're not troubleshooting something, but they may be helping a customer better utilize a product or service that they have, or they may help a customer with an implementation or something that they already have. There's other things they can add on to their full deployment. So that's usually on the consulting engineer side from the experience that I've had. Software engineers are writing code, they're developers. Hardware engineers are focused on physical devices. And then we have sales roles that have some technical aspects to them, where they might be demoing a product, or they might be setting up a product and explaining how that works for a customer. And then AI is a buzzword right now. So there's AI roles in Cisco coming up. So like machine learning, generative AI, things of that nature. I don't actually know anybody in an AI role right now, but it is something that is definitely on Cisco's mind and a lot of other tech companies. So now we'll go a little bit more into the non-technical roles. So non-technical roles, we have a high-touch operations role, and that role is all about customer service. So for instance, let's say a customer had a case open with a technical consulting engineer for an error message on a product, or they're not able to deploy something, or they're getting some type of problem. The high-touch operations person will be a point of contact for the customer so they can reach out and find out what's going on with those technical consulting engineer cases, maybe helping get it worked a little quicker. Maybe the customer needs to escalate, or maybe the customer has a business case and they need this particular issue worked faster. They'll reach out to the high touch operations manager or analyst. That person may not be technical at all. That person will not be configuring a router. That person may not know what OSPF is. They may not understand spanning tree. They may not understand code, but they're the point of contact for the cases that they have open. And then project managers, they are also sometimes non-technical. They could be both, but most of the time they're non-technical, and they are there to make sure that the project stays in budget, make sure timelines are managed appropriately and things of that nature. And then there are human resources role. They could be customers, they could be supporting leaders, or they could be supporting employees with any of their human resource needs. And then we have business analysts, and business analysts focus on business strategy, improving processes and things of that nature. And then you'll see sales is on both sides. So there are some technical sales roles and then non-technical sales roles. So the sales roles that are not technical don't require you to configure devices or help write code or upgrade a platform, things of that nature. There's just slightly different tasks you would have on the sales side. And then we have our financial analyst role as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to join a tech company, and this is any tech company really, with technical skills and non-technical skills. So just because it's a tech company and you don't have technical skills, it does not mean that you don't belong. There are roles for people who focus on business, strategy, process, finance, and things of that nature. All right, so I want to do a really quick demo about how you apply for a job at Cisco. I want to show you how to filter, because we've all searched for jobs in our careers, and sometimes companies have hundreds and hundreds of roles open, and how do I know which roles best fit me and what roles I should be looking for? So we're going to do a quick demo on that, and then we'll go to questions. So if you want to follow along with me, you can. This is going to be recorded, so you can always go back to it. I'm certain that all of you may have already done this before or know how to do it, but I just want to make sure that it's here on the recording for the future. So we want to filter by the United States, or if you're planning on moving to another region, filter by that region. So that I get the most results. I'm not going to put a state in for now. And then job type. This is going to be the important part. So I'm going to select apprentice, co-op, early in career, and intern. So these are the roles that you want to focus on as a college student or a recent graduate. Any of our professional roles usually require that you have multiple years of experience. So when you apply for apprentice roles, co-op roles, early in career, and intern, it is already understood that you are emerging talent, that you are starting your career. Maybe you're even switching careers, but we know that you don't have 10, 25, 6, 7 years of experience. So it's geared towards you and where you are in your career. And then we're just going to search. And when that loads, you're going to get all of the emerging talent roles. So first up is our financial role. It's that financial analyst type role. It's in our financial rotation program. So that's a really good role if you're majoring in business, finance, accounting, things of that nature. So let's just kind of look at the list. There's a consulting engineer role. That's one that I mentioned. There's a communication specialist. So that's non-technical. There is strategy and planning for MBA students, also a non-technical role. There's a project specialist role. There's security consulting engineer, software consulting engineer. If anybody is really good with coding, there's in development, there's a full stack intern opportunity. There's firmware feature roles, site reliability. There's testing roles, hardware roles. So This lets you know that there's a breadth of opportunities at Cisco for a variety of people and a variety of backgrounds. And then you'll see in parentheses whether it's a full-time role, an intern role, or co-op role. So your intern roles and your co-op roles are for people who are actively in school right now. Usually, in my experience, the co-op roles typically last for a longer duration than an intern role, but we also sometimes will then have summer co-ops, summer interns, and then sometimes you'll also see fall and spring co-op and intern. So just kind of look at those job descriptions, and sometimes there's a little bit blurb about the time frame in there. And then the full-time roles, those will be for people who will be, let's say you graduate in November, then you want to be hitting those full-time roles. If you graduate next year, then you want to be looking at those intern and co-op roles. So just kind of make sure that you narrow it down because there's just so many roles. So I also want to just for your reference, I'm going to remove all the filtering except for the region, and then let's see what we get. So we get just a little bit of a different list. There's just so much going on here. You see those intern co-op roles sprinkled in there, but there's just a lot more roles to come through. And it's going to take you a lot of time to click on each one of these, read the job description, and then feel like you don't have what they're asking for. So don't do that to yourself. Go ahead and filter it so that it is going to show you roles that fit for where you currently are in your career. So I just kind of wanted to show you that there's just way more roles if you don't filter. There'll be page after page after page, and it can be overwhelming. So just make sure you always filter your job search, and that will help you narrow things down, and then you apply for roles that your resume will fit better with. And if you've ever applied for a role at Cisco, there's not a lot of questions. You usually just have a couple of questions that you have to answer, and then you submit your resume, and that gets it into the hands of our recruiters, and then they go through the resumes and they reach out for people who fit what those hiring managers are looking for. So I just wanted to give everyone a quick demo of our job site and how to just filter it, and that way you're not combing through hundreds and hundreds of roles. You can narrow it down to roles that fit where you are in your stage of your career. All right, and then now we have reached the best part. This is for you to ask me questions. I know a lot of questions went into the chat, so I'll let Hank help me out with some of those questions.
Yes, thank you, Shauna. Hello? All
Yes.
right, so we do have some questions that popped up in the chat. If you would like to come off mute, go ahead and use the raise your hand function. I'll unmute you so you can ask those questions. If not, feel free to drop your questions into the chat, and we'll start. So I do have a couple questions from earlier. One from Hope. Are there any remote internship available?
Yes, sometimes. So you'll just have to open up the opportunity on the job site, and it will tell you on there if it's remote. This past summer, I did see a lot of interns in the office, but when you have, at least for RTP, I can't speak for the other ones because I don't know. I know that the interns that came into the office this past summer, they did get some assistance with their move for that time frame. Our internships were just over the summer, so they were required to be on site in RTP, but there's a lot of options with interns. Just the interns that I interacted with over the summer were mandated to be in RTP, but if you apply for one of those roles, Cisco will help you with some funding and potentially an apartment or some sort of housing. And so yes, there are a little bit of both. You just want to make sure you read the job descriptions. It should have in there if it requires being on site in RTP. There's also some Meraki internships out in Chicago, so you just want to make sure that you read those job descriptions. There should be a little information about location there.
Okay, and what does RTP stand for?
RTP stands for Research Triangle Park.
All right. Well, thank you, Bradley. Bradley put that in there, so that's awesome. Bradley, I'll take you off mute so you can ask your question. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I was wondering, I got my ISC squared certification, and I was wondering if there are any job opportunities because I had applied And my recruiter said that y'all are on a hiring freeze for right now because y'all restructuring y'all's budget.
So that is a really, really good question. So I'm not in recruiting and I'm not in hiring at this time. So what that person provided is probably a little bit more up-to-date information than I have. Companies do sometimes go on hiring freezes. And if there is a position on the job site, that does at least indicate that resumes are being taken, applications are accepted. So there are times when corporations do have temporary hiring freezes. So for that, I would just say if there's something on our site now that interests you, go ahead and apply. And if not, definitely wait a couple months and there may be a few more things on there. But yeah, sometimes not just Cisco, but sometimes companies do go on hiring freezes just for the needs of business, just depending on what's happening behind the scenes. So that's probably the case. And if that's what they gave you recently.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did because I went to a Cisco Academy site. So also before I went to WGU, so that's why I applied because we have to do the Cisco's Academy thing
Mhm.
at the school that we went to. I went to Durham Tech, so it's a
Okay.
Cisco Academy site. So
Yeah,
you
I
know,
did academy classes as well. But yeah, definitely just keep checking back. If there's anything co-op or intern wise, definitely go ahead and apply for those. Some of the internships and co-ops are for next year or like spring fall or summer next year, but definitely go ahead and apply if you see anything that interests you.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we do have another question. Um, what categories would be cybersecurity? That would cybersecurity fall in?
Cybersecurity. Yeah, I love that question. So the fun thing is cybersecurity could be a sales role. Maybe you're going to be selling some of our cybersecurity products or demoing things. There are SOC analyst roles at Cisco, so that's a cybersecurity role. Some of our technical consulting engineers fit in a variety of roles. So you can have a technical consulting engineer that focuses on WebEx, for example. You can have a technical consulting engineer that focuses on Cisco Umbrella. You can have a technical consulting engineer that is a route switch person, or a technical consulting engineer that is just a whiz with switches in particular. So technical consulting engineers can be cybersecurity roles as well as your traditional roles. So you can also have a cybersecurity role that's a software engineer role as well. So cybersecurity can be almost anywhere in the technical roles.
All right, thanks. I do have a question in regards to sponsorship. Do you sponsor international students? And that is from AO Mid. I am sorry I pronounced your name incorrectly.
That's a great question, and I don't know um, how the sponsorship works. That would best be suited for a recruiter. So for that, I think it wouldn't hurt to reach out to someone on perhaps LinkedIn that has recruiter in their title and they are an employee of Cisco. They might be better able to answer how the sponsorship looks, how it works, and what those parameters are. But I personally don't know how the sponsorship works.
All right, thank you. And with the recording that you'll be receiving this after the session, I will include the links to the careers page and also a few other additional links for you to take a look at. Next question is from Hannah. Is there any opportunities or programs for career changers from non-technical roles to a technical role?
Sure. So you are transitioning from a non-technical role to a technical role. So yes, you would apply for a full-time technical consulting engineer role or a full-time consulting engineer role. In my program, we've had people who have majored in biology. We've had people who majored in political science. We've had biology majors, English majors. So yes, you don't have to have a technical background to come into a new graduate role or a role for emerging talent because you will be given some opportunities to beef up your technical skills. Some programs have technical boot camps as part of the program. So even if you don't have a technical background, you can still transition into a technical role at Cisco. So that was a great question.
Now, are there any negatives to applying for more than one role at Cisco?
That's a great question. So, I'm not a recruiter. I can only speak from my experience. And so I've seen people give me both ends of that as far as advice. Some people will say only apply for one or two roles that really, really stand out for you. Because if you apply for 20 roles, for example, then that might look like you're just throwing something out and seeing what sticks. But then on the flip side, because the job market is booming right now, why not apply for all the roles? Because your resume may not get reviewed for all the roles. I would say just take it in stride. I wouldn't apply for 20 different roles at the same company in the same week or on the same day. Recruiters potentially see how many other roles you've applied for in companies, not just Cisco. So definitely make sure that when you apply for a role, that it is a role that you are very interested in. It is a role that the job description and your resume match up. So just kind of think of it that way. If your resume is in line with the requirements of that role, then why not apply? But try not to just randomly apply for multiple roles. Even if you think that you might be interested in it, do kind of narrow down your search and do more targeted applying versus just blanket applying for everything that you see.
Great. Now, when is a good idea to apply for an internship for someone who is a career changer? And it's from Hope.
I like that question. So for internships, apply as soon as you are ready and available and interested, because some companies, Cisco included, some companies just in general, start their internship recruitment in the fall, which is more of a traditional school terminology, but the fall semester in a traditional school is when a lot of companies start their recruiting for the following year. So as soon as you see an intern position open, go ahead and apply for it, because it could be a few months out or it could be a year out. So I would apply for those immediately.
Great. Now, as far as internships, for a summer internship, will there be a chance to convert it into a full-time position? And that's from
Great
Dennis.
question. Great question. So in some cases, yes, there are some internships that you'll come in during the summer and then you'll have an opportunity to work with us maybe 10, 12 weeks or so, just depending on the particulars of that internship. And if you like the role, you make a really good impression, it could lead to a full-time role in the future. There are some roles at Cisco that again, it's just me talking, nothing official, but as an intern, you may get first consideration when a full-time role comes around. So definitely take an internship, enjoy it, learn a lot, make a good impression, and you could potentially have an opportunity for a full-time role in the future. It may not be something like you have the summer internship for 10 or 12 weeks, and then when the summer internship is done, you automatically roll into full-time. It may not be exactly like that. It may be an example where you do an internship for 10 or 12 weeks during the summer, and then the following fall, when opportunities for full-time open again, you may have an opportunity to apply for those, and you've already made a good impression on some of those managers, so it would give you that opportunity to set yourself apart from other candidates.
All right, great. Now, we do have a question in regards to your role directly as emerging talent leader. What are your daily responsibilities in your role?
Awesome. I love that question. So my daily responsibilities vary from program to program, but in general, my role is one that leads their program. So let's say, for example, I run the technical consulting engineer program. So I will manage your experience for your first 90 days at Cisco. So I'm required to plan out week by week for your first 90 days, what you're going to be exposed to, what you're going to learn, schedule guest speakers to come in, schedule your technical training, help you prepare for a CCNA opportunity, or if you happen to come in with a CCNA, then we will help you prepare for your CCNP attempt, or maybe you want to try DevOps. But my goal and my daily responsibilities is budgeting for the program, scheduling the week by week, scheduling guest speakers, and then I'll be managing people. So then I have my one-on-ones, my development conversations as well. So that's mainly what I do in those programs is budgeting, scheduling, guest speakers, professional development, scheduling your helping you schedule your certification exams and things of that nature. So that's pretty much the main responsibilities of my role.
All right, great. And I have a question from Michael. I'm gonna take you off mute, Michael. You can ask your question directly.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony. I just want to say thank you both, Shauna and Anthony, for hosting the session today. It's been very helpful.
You're so welcome.
My main question, and I think there's probably at least one other person that probably has the same question here. I completed my bachelor's already, so I'm going into my master's. Would it be unheard of to apply for an early in career role, even though I have my bachelor's and I have some work experience under my belt?
No, it would not be unheard of. So that is a great question. And I agree others may have that question. So I like to think of early in career roles as a recent graduate. So if you've graduated from college in the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, you would still in many companies be considered early in career. And there are some cases where people have graduated with their bachelor's degree and then a couple months later started their master's, but need full-time employment, want full-time employment, and they definitely apply for those full-time roles at Cisco in the emerging talent space. So it is possible, and people do it every day.
Understood. Yeah, I'm one of those people that started working before the degree, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's some people have a little bit of work experience before the degree, and then some don't. But your new degree, your newest degree, makes you early in career in most cases.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we do have another question about applying for Cisco positions. When is a good time in your WGU, MSIT, MGM journey to start applying for those positions?
I would say a good time if you're in your master's and you're almost done, maybe you have one term left, start applying. I would start applying at any point because you could be a co-op, you could be an intern, or if you know you have one term left, you could potentially come in and be in a position where you graduate and then start your full-time role shortly after graduation. So I would say as soon as possible.
Great. So we do have a question from S. Tomlin. I'm in the BSIT program at WGU and I have a small business experience. Any tips on when I should begin getting corporate experience? Do I have to start with help desk?
Yeah, so great. So in the IT field, there are some thoughts out there about not wanting to work help desk roles and wanting to kind of bypass help desk roles and go into something a little bit more lucrative or a little bit more fun or a little bit more high touch or just a little bit more high profile. But help desk roles have their purpose. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about customer experience, and you're going to learn, if it's a corporation, you're also going to learn how to navigate in the corporate world. I've actually been in the corporate world since I was in my early 20s. It's different from working at small businesses and other places. And I don't think any experience in the tech industry is bad experience, because some people would consider my role at AT&T as help desk. I mean, technically it was. I was helping people. People called in, they needed assistance with their internet. So it was a help desk role. It may be different from a help desk role at a hospital or a school where people need help with their Outlook or they forgot their password or they can't access the VPN. It may look a little bit different, but I think all of that has value and you're going to learn something. I would rather take a help desk role and have experience in the IT industry than not take the help desk role and have no experience to put on the resume. So you can definitely do both. You can shoot for something a little what you consider higher than help desk, or you can start at help desk, get that experience, beef up your resume, and then move from there. So it's a personal preference, but I feel help desk has value.
Great. Bradley, I'm going to take you off mute so you can ask your question.
Yeah, I have a question. So my question is, do they have like some type of mentorship or anything like that? I mean, I know they got the co-op and the internship, but like if you want to like shadow somebody or somebody can help you, like my position, I got like a couple of terms left myself, and I was wondering if they have any mentorship or anything that, can help us, get in the right direction.
So when you're in the role, if you come through my program, we do assign each person a mentor, and that person is usually someone who is also in the role that you are hired for, but they have more experience. Maybe they've been here a couple more years than you, or maybe they've been here 5 years. But when you're in the program, you do get assigned a mentor, and you'll meet with them throughout your first 90 days and even beyond. You'll still keep that relationship. If you're trying to learn from people before you get the role, I would definitely encourage you to join any of the industry associations. There's a lot of groups within the area, if you're especially if you're in your RTP. There's a lot of industry groups that you can join and meet people that way and be learning from people before you apply. But when you get into Cisco, if you come into an emerging talent role or early career role, in most cases, you'll be assigned a mentor.
And one more question. Is there any way that y'all can leave y'all's contact information as well?
Sure. I think we're going to post my LinkedIn profile link at the end, and I'll be more than happy to connect with anybody and answer questions offline as well.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Right. And yes, that I will be sharing LinkedIn profile and information. So if you would like to be in contact, you will definitely have that information to follow up on. All right, we've got a couple more questions left in the chat. From Caroline, I'm transitioning from accounting to data analyst. What roles can I fit in at Cisco? I'm currently 81% done with my master's in data analytics.
Yeah, so great question. So there are data analyst roles at Cisco. I think when I was scrolling through, I think I saw a couple data analyst roles there, but that is definitely something that you can do. We also have business analysts. So there's a lot of opportunities with a data-driven mindset that you can go into Cisco. So you can be a data analyst, or maybe you can be a business analyst. So there's different opportunities there.
We have a great question from Liz. Do you have to have a degree for a management role, or does that work experience count?
That's a great question. And so, from what I have seen, again, I'm not a recruiter, I don't actually speak for Cisco, but what I have seen from myself and some people in my peer group, the degree is not 100% required in order to become a manager, but those degrees can set you apart from other candidates. There are people who are at Cisco who started off, maybe they got in with their associate's degree, they found a really good team, they found a really good role, they worked really well, they moved up to team lead eventually, worked as a team lead for a little while, leadership saw the effort, saw what they offered, and then later they were promoted to manager. So that can happen too. There are people who just have their bachelor's degree who over time have been promoted to manager. So it's not 100% required. I haven't seen an actual mandate for a manager to have a degree, but it will set you apart from other candidates. So yeah, that's my experience from what I've seen.
Thank you for sharing that. Do we have any additional questions? I see Bradley's hand is up one more time. I'll go ahead and take you off mute. You're free.
I will take my hand down. I'm sorry. I don't have any more questions. Y'all have answered all my questions, and I am satisfied.
Well, happy to
All
hear
right.
that.
Thank you. We do have Bethel, and mute you there. You can come off mute. You can go ahead and click that little red microphone in the corner.
Oh, you're welcome. This has been a pleasure for me. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and slide over to Chad. Chad, you should be able to take yourself off mute. You can ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if either of you would be willing to refer any of us to.
Love that question. So, yeah, why not? So there are some roles in, and I'm sure this is at other corporations as well, but when you are already in the company, you have, in most cases, a referral portal that you can submit a referral for. So yeah, just reach out, share your resume, and let me know what position you're interested in. And some roles accept referrals, some don't. I'll check it and I'll see. I also will go out on a limb and say the referrals, they just get you into a list, but you're still going to be matched against the role. You're going to be compared to other candidates almost just the same, but it does give you just a little bit more of a push, but definitely like it's a networking opportunity, and sometimes it works out. I've been at Cisco for many, many years, and so far it's just me. I don't know about others. I've only had one successful referral so far. I think I've referred a few people over the years, but it is definitely worth the try. So why not? When you reach out to someone and you ask for a referral, if they know you, great. But if they don't know you, maybe share a little bit about your background, your experience, your education. If you're comfortable, share your resume. And I think nowadays we don't put addresses on resumes anymore. So make sure your address is not on your resume, especially when you're sharing it to somewhat of a random person. And then if your resume matches up, maybe they will submit that referral for you. So yeah, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn.
All
I know that
right.
was kind of a ramble, but it is the truth of how it goes. It could go, referrals sometimes help, sometimes don't, and that's in all companies.
All right. Let's see. Chad has his hand up again. Go ahead, unmute you. You should be able to unmute Chad. You're breaking up a little bit, Chad. If you would like to drop your question in the chat, feel free to do so. We have enough time for about one or two more questions if we have some questions that come in. It looks like the questions have slowed down, Shauna.
Okay.
All right, so I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, this session was recorded, so you will receive that recording here via email along with that survey. So if you could just take the time out to fill that survey out, that would be great. Just want to give out a huge thank you to Shauna for your time and sharing all of your insights and sharing your experience with us today. Your experience and passion has truly enriched our discussion, and I know our students have greatly appreciated you for stopping by today.
Thank you so much. You are so, so welcome. This was a pleasure for me. And just thank you all for coming. I didn't know I was going to be this important today, so I'm glad that I offered some insight, some encouragement, some tips, some things that you can use in the future and even now. So definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I appreciate Hank for reaching out to me, and I appreciate all of you for coming and having questions and just listening to my story.
Great, yes. So don't forget to be on the lookout for other Quest sessions that we're having this month with alumni and other informational sessions with employers. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.